Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sly Sims. I've seen the video for where George Floyd was killed by this cop who decided, and retardedly decided, to put his knee on his neck. That is the most stupidest bullcrap I've ever freaking seen in my entire life for someone in law enforcement. I've seen worse, but this takes the freaking cake. Oh boy. Nothing good is going to come out of this. To be honest, if they do arrest this officer, what the heck is the likely chance he will be even charged for murder? To be honest, I would be surprised if they actually did. Because usually almost every law enforcement that usually gets in trouble like this, either they'll just get fired and the charges don't, or the charges get dropped. I mean, you've seen it in the past. You've seen it with I'm trying to figure out. There was one. You've seen it in the past, but it's high time that law enforcement, for once, take responsibility for their own actions, and actually literally get punished as such for these actions. And for this action, for this murder, for one, if you commit, that's freaking capital felony, you know. That's a federal crime. That is a capital felony. You know, life sentence or death sentence, and mostly murder, rape, torture, and last but not least, kidnapping of another person or person of anyone in particular should get the death penalty, and it really shouldn't be at all the little injection. I think the little injection is just a weak type of punishment. It's just weak, and plus, it takes too darn long. Like, you have people still in death row, and it takes so long, and I don't know the process. If somebody wants to tell me the process throughout the death row thing and why it takes so long, go ahead and say in the comments below, and I would love to freaking read it. And to be honest, I would love to read where it is. If you tell me exactly where it is, where I can look it up, tell me in the comments below, too, and I will read it. I will gladly freaking videotape myself reading it, too, to literally prove it. But as far as I say with this murder, the cop will have to get literal freaking capital punishment for this, and it would have to be the death penalty, and it better not be an injection either, because I think it doesn't really set out the message of anything. You're putting an injection, there's an injection by poisonous drug, not exactly the kind of message you want to give to everyone. And basically, you know, is in times of punishment. It's okay. Punishments we've had before that dealt with people doing a capital crime is hanging. Let's see, hanging, the guillotine, the electric chair, definitely the electric chair, and let's see, gun squad, firing squad. There we go, firing squad. That's one of them. That's them. Those are punishments that I say would greatly realize would actually be a little bit more effective. A bit. It's a start. It's a start. But if this keeps up, I mean, what's to say punishments will be the least of everyone's concern? Because I've seen on Twitter of literal fire in freaking Minneapolis. I mean, that Minneapolis in this. Let me see. Let me go for it. Hold on. Let me switch the scene. Okay, and we got that. Oh, I didn't switch to it. I'm still on this. Probably. Still on this. Okay, that's just a projection that I just need to see for myself. So, this is a history of racial injustice. This is like, let's see, this is on this day, May 4th, 1992, 5 days of unrest after Rodney King beating trial ends in no confessions. This was the riot of 1992 in LA. And if I can find... this bookmark, there we go. Remembering the 1992 LA riots in light of the Minneapolis protests. And literally, that's actually what I see it as. These riots, they're happening in Minneapolis. Yeah. It sums up, it looks kind of putting in the similarity between 1992 LA riots and Minneapolis. This is freaking dumb.
You get a couple puffs too.
This is not gonna freaking end well. This is not gonna end well at all. And of course there's one with no audio. Surprisingly how somebody edits this. Fires burning in Minneapolis. This isn't gonna freaking go well. Many drew comparisons to riots following the acquittal of police officers in the Rodney King case. In March 1991, Rodney King, who was on parole for robbery, had led police on a high-speed chase through Los Angeles. When police finally stopped him, King was ordered out of the car. Los Angeles Police Department officers then kicked him repeatedly and beat him with batons for a reported 15 minutes. The video showed that more than a dozen cops stood by, watching and commenting on the beating. Which is true, because they also had it on, I'm trying to remember what channel. They had it on probably the History Channel. I think they had it on the History Channel when I saw it. Let's see, 1992 Los Angeles riots as we watched. I think that's the one, but I don't think it was on, it probably was on History Channel, but it probably not. But this is getting out of hand. I've seen the protests, and they were way, way better. You know, they were way better at being peaceful, and they were way more peaceful than how, well, you know. From what is heard, apparently, apologies, from what we're getting on some news headlines, that apparently from this protest, people were, well, there were some people that broke away from the protest and decided to go riot, loot, and all that stuff. And heck, if I type in looting on Twitter, that thing was actually the biggest one when I was looking at looting. Because as soon as it was yesterday, and while I was looking on Twitter, I was at work and I was on Twitter, and looting was on there. It was on the biggest, most talked about, the most talked about on Twitter right now. Talked about on Twitter yesterday, and all this came up except for now this. They just pulled this up 2 hours ago today, and this video is very. Someone's starting to put this. You got somebody going inside this gym. I'm trying to. Let's see. Given the purple around, that's probably what gym could I say that is? Planet Fitness probably. But there are many other gyms that probably have somewhat different colors in there. Who knows? It might be Planet Fitness, but there's a guy who's in Planet Fitness. Then you got this coming out. Last night's looting was set off when an undercover St. Paul police officer smashing windows with a hammer as protesters attempted to stop him. This was calculated and planned in order to justify police using force. Well, to be honest, I'm not sure about that until we actually get the right one. Through Target shopping carts and smashed a police vehicle in St. Paul, Minnesota, angry at the killing is an unarmed black man. Now it's happening in other areas of the United States. This is just going to get more worse as soon as the days come, dude. This is just so crazy. To those offended by the looting, he said, what the F he said. Okay, look, okay. Well, here's the thing. The looting is really driving away the protest. And the protests were way more peaceful. And they were doing it better, and they were doing a good job at being peaceful. I mean, jeez. Okay, ignore that part. Aftermath of riots, looting, and fires in Minneapolis. This is not freaking good. I'm not going to play that because that's not going to happen. There's people making random stuff about back then and all this. About saying that we're all on looting land. Oh, freaking K. Protesters were destroying property. The tea has been spilled and history like this. It said, ugh. The murder itself. First of all, you have both people that are literally, you know. You have both people who are against both things. They're against the murder of George Floyd, and there are people who are against looting. Especially the protesters who are protesting, you know, on the death of Floyd. The ones who actually peacefully protest and didn't go off looting. This is going to get worse and worse by the minute. And we got some people in St. Paul, Missouri, armed citizens not having any of that looting from the George Floyd riots. Sometimes you need to stand your ground to protect what's yours. Stay safe. I agree with this one.
Hey, out here with them blinks on them. Blinks on them. Run up in this black on, nigga. You see that black on? Run up in this bitch. Oh my mama, we gonna do that to y'all ass. It said run up in. It said run up in here and see what happened. On feet out here with them blinks on them. Blinks on them. Run up in this black on.
And I have seen a video of another one of, I think, what was it? I think it was a grocery store or somewhere. The owners of that grocery store in Minneapolis, there were, I think it was three armed citizens helped out the owners that were also armed with machetes. And I don't think I can find that video. I don't think I have it set. Wait a minute. Well, I do have it retweeted on my profile. I will later on. And we have Paul John. The death of George Floyd has been a tragedy and never should have happened, but neither should all of the destruction, looting, and acts of violence. I live in the Twin Cities and seeing firsthand how devastating all this is. Please keep us in your prayers. And prayers are needed, but also the punishment for the officer in question who put his knee on George Floyd and also the other officers that were watching too, that were standing there. Someone said that there were 2 other officers offhand out of the video were also like near the car. They were also holding him down. I didn't see that, but I noticed the guy who was having his knee on George Floyd's neck, and then the Asian cop that was there that had what commenting with people and actually talking to George Floyd, saying, "You're talking?" Like, no, dude was down there. From what people were saying, from what I've seen from other people that had uh, other photos of somewhat other people were saying. There was a judo from Abba and Preach. They had a picture. They had a screenshot of a guy on Twitter who was a judo martial artist, and he said he would never do that kind of form. To do that to somebody, even if in judo, is a form of torture, and he would never do that to somebody, even on his worst enemy. And I agree with that. And we all need the prayers right now, but the most important one is the punishment to the officer, and last but not least, to the rest of his fellow officers that were also there with him while he was literally doing that in front of everybody else and literally doing this. Do not use milk to... Hold on. Notes for protesters: do not use milk to treat tear gas spray. Milk can cause an infection. Use cold water to wash out your eyes and mouth. If you see cops putting on gas masks, they're going to use tear gas. Try and get above the tear gas clouds. So... I hope this is not actually someone who actually freaking broke into a zoo and actually took a baby tiger without getting mauled. Taking Minneapolis police 3rd precinct building during 3rd night. Things are going to get worse. And who knows, because you already have LA doing their thing. The likely chance of this getting more out of hand is high. He was not part of the protest. He came, vandalized, and left. So we got another video from TikTok of the guy who was, So this is the same AutoZone. This was the same auto... Hold on. Wait a minute. This was the same AutoZone as... Where is it? Same AutoZone as this picture. Where is it? Where's that picture? I guess I don't see it anymore. Jeez. It was the same AutoZone as that picture. That guy who was flexing in front of the AutoZone that was being burned down.
So, again, it's easy for us to say, I'm not black, I'm not young, I'm not frustrated. It's easy to say they're the...
Okay, if anybody want to watch that, they can. Protesters criticized for looting, but yep. Yeah, they're being criticized for vandalism, while it's these other freaking groups that are doing it. And the protesters are being blamed for this. This is not going to end that well. This is not going to end well. And people are not going to put their phones down. You think people are going to put their phones down? No.
Business is none of my business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, by the time change occurs, people have forgot. Let's see, attention. Minority must draw attention to the cause to attract more support. Conflict. Right, this snowball effect. Minority opinion continues to decrease until a tipping point. Social crypto amnesia. By the time change occurs, people have forgot the original issue of the opinion. And I agree with this. There will be more riots than you think. And even during even on the news on Local 10 saying violent protests over. Well, it's not really a protest. It's just a bunch of idiots that are separate from the protest, from the actual peaceful protest. They're literally going over rioting and literally looting. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not going to end well. But we need the punishment for that officer for killing George Floyd. And there has to be punishments. Oh boy. And there has to be punishments. There has to be punishments. Has to be. Ladies and gentlemen, who's to say we're going to do this over and over again? Who's to say we're going to do this over and over again? I tell you.